On the edge of almost every town, there is a giant metal mushroom standing on stilts, and almost nobody can tell you what it is for. It is not decoration, it is not really storage either. It is a battery, and the thing it stores is falling. Before we get to why, hold one picture in your head. A box, 1 meter on every side, filled with water. That box weighs 1 ton. It is going to follow you home. A ton is the weight of a small car. At home, you get through one of those boxes every 2 or 3 days, and once you count the water that grew your food and made your clothes, you move through roughly 1400 tons of water a year. Everything else you consume in that same year, all the food, the fuel, the metal, the cement, the plastic and the timber, added together, comes to about 12 tons. So water is not one of the things you consume. Water is about 99% of the mass of your entire life, and everything else is a rounding error. Now the second fact, and it should not be able to sit beside the first one. Treated water arrives at your house for roughly $1 to $3 a ton. Raw water for a farm costs a few cents a ton. A ton of steel is $600. A ton of wheat is $250. A ton of gravel, the cheapest thing anybody bothers to ship, is about $20. Water is the heaviest thing in your life and the cheapest thing in the economy at the same time. Those two facts together are not a curiosity, they are a rule. What it costs to carry something scales with its weight. What you can charge for it scales with its value. Water has enormous weight and almost no value per ton, so the journey always costs more than the cargo. Cheap and heavy stays home. And that gives us the law of this episode. Ship the value, not the weight. When a thing cannot pay for its own journey, you never move the thing, you move what the thing makes. Which means that, for 10,000 years, civilization had exactly one affordable pump, and it was the planet. Around 50 of the Common Era, Roman engineers cut a channel 50 kilometers long to bring water to a city in southern France. Across that entire distance, it fell 17 meters. On one bridge, they held the drop to 2.5 centimeters over 456 meters of stone. They were not building a road and they were not building a wall, they were building a fall. You have heard that cities sit near water. That is not quite the rule. Cities sit below their water. Los Angeles has 2 aqueducts, and they settle the argument between them. The old one runs downhill from the Owens Valley, and because it falls, it does not consume electricity at all. It generates about 400 million kilowatt hours a year on the way down. The other one has to climb. It is part of the State Water Project, and it is the single largest consumer of electricity in the state of California, somewhere between 2 and 3% of the entire grid. Same city, same water, opposite sign. The only difference is which way the ground tilts. Here is where the bill gets serious. To get over the Tehachapi Mountains, 14 pumps drive that water 587 meters straight up, the highest single water lift in the world, and that one plant alone eats about 40% of the power the whole project uses. Now compare two numbers. Moving a cubic meter of water 700 kilometers and over a mountain range costs California about 2.4 kilowatt hours. Manufacturing a fresh cubic meter out of the Pacific Ocean from salt water using reverse osmosis costs about 3. Moving water is very nearly as expensive as inventing it from the sea. That is how heavy water is. And in India, pulling groundwater up to the surface consumes around 1/5 of all the electricity the country sells. So for the last 4 minutes, I have told you that water cannot travel, and every word of it was true. And yet 1,000 tons of water crossed an ocean this morning for roughly the price of a haircut because somebody first turned it into wheat. 1 kilogram of wheat drinks close to 1,800 kilograms of water before harvest. So a grain ship is not carrying grain. It is carrying a river in a costume at about 1/1800th of the weight. The world trades over 2,000 cubic kilometers of water a year this way and calls it agriculture. We did not solve the transport problem. We stopped moving the water and started moving what the water made. That same law decides what is allowed to grow. Work out what a crop earns per cubic meter of water and you find a hard line at roughly $1. Wheat sits far under it, at about 14 cents of crop value per ton of water, which is why no country on earth irrigates cereals with water it had to manufacture. Greenhouse vegetables in southern Spain earn 5 to 7 euros per cubic meter, 30 to 50 times better, so there they build a desalination plant and it pencils out. This is why deserts can grow strawberries and tomatoes, while a forest is never irrigated anywhere by anyone. Timber does not earn enough per ton of water to pay for a single lift. Nobody waters what cannot pay its own fare. And where the water will not pay, we borrow. Under the American plains and under northern India, there is water that fell as rain thousands of years ago, and we are pumping it up faster than any rain refills it. The interest on that loan is electricity. The principal is somebody else's future. I should be honest about the boundary here, because physics is not the whole story. Alfalfa grows in the American desert, partly because of water rights written in the 1800s that punish a farmer for using less than the full allowance. The water table under northern India is falling partly because farm electricity is free or flat rated, which makes lifting look costless to the person doing the lifting. The weight sets the rule. Policy decides how fast we break it. It is tempting to wish the weight away, so try it. Make water a tenth as heavy, and the aqueducts become antiques. Cities climb out of their valleys onto any plateau they like, and the Sahara grows wheat. Then the rest of the bill arrives. About 15% of the world electricity supply is made by heavy water falling, so every dam on earth loses 9/10 of its output. A ship floats by displacing its own mass of water, so most of the merchant fleet, which carries 80% of world trade, simply sinks. And the Nile Delta, the Gangetic Plain, the Mississippi bottomlands, the best soil humans have ever farmed, is only rock that heavy water carried downhill and set down. Lighten the water, and you never get any of it. The weight that traps us is the weight that floats our trade, generates our power, and built our farmland. It is the same bill either way. So walk outside and read it. The reservoir is uphill of the town, never downhill, because the town was placed to receive it. The pipe under the road moves more tonnage every day than all the trucks driving over it. The sprinkler comes on at 4 in the morning because that is the hour when lifting costs least. And that giant metal mushroom on stilts was never storage. It is a held breath. A town worth of water, lifted once, waiting to fall the moment you open a tap. That box from the beginning was never a thought experiment. It is above your head right now. And it explains something well outside water, because the law travels. Find the thing in your own work that is heavy and cheap. The raw effort nobody will pay you for in its raw state. Nobody wants your spreadsheet. They want the one sentence it forced you to believe. Your hours are the water. What you make of them is the wheat. Ship the value, not the weight. A city is not built beside water. A city is where water agrees to arrive.